If you told me a year ago that a grocery delivery girl would turn my world upside down, I would have laughed. Seriously, I was Emily Bennett, daughter of a real estate mogul, living in a glass mansion that felt more like a museum. I had everything money could buy, but I was starving for something real, something genuine. Then she knocked on my door. It was a rainy Thursday, the kind of day that makes the world look gray and washed out. Our chef had taken the day off, so for the first time in forever, I'd ordered groceries online. When the doorbell rang, I was expecting some rushed courier. But it wasn't. It was her, drenched from the rain, clutching a single paper bag with a smile that was like a splash of color in my black and white world. "Delivery for Miss Bennett?" she asked, brushing a wet strand of dark hair from her face. Her voice was warm, and it made the cavernous entryway feel a little smaller. "That's me," I said, probably staring a little too much. She let out a small, apologetic laugh. "Sorry, I'm soaked. The rain caught me halfway up the driveway. You guys live far." I chuckled, a sound that felt foreign in that formal space. "We do everything far away here. Far from town, far from people, far from real life." She grinned, and it was like the sun breaking through the clouds. "Guess I brought a little real life to your doorstep then." That was it. That was the moment. No one had ever spoken to me like that, not with the stiff formality of staff or the guarded respect of my parents' friends. It was just real. Her name was Riley, 26, working 3 jobs to make ends meet. And she had this incredible energy, a mix of total confidence and beautiful chaos. She talked fast, laughed loud, and had a way of making even a simple grocery delivery feel like an event. So the next week, I ordered again. I told myself it was for the fresh strawberries. But when Riley showed up, rain-free and smiling that same infectious smile, I knew I was lying to myself. "Didn't expect to see you again so soon," she teased, handing me the bags. "I eat a lot," I said, feeling my cheeks heat up. She laughed, a sound that just filled up the space and stuck with you. "You should try cooking sometime. Then you'd see how much work goes into these deliveries." Before I could even think, the words tumbled out of my mouth. "Maybe you could teach me." She raised an eyebrow, a playful glint in her eyes. "You want a grocery girl to teach a rich girl how to cook?" I felt a surge of boldness I hadn't felt in years. "No," I said, my voice softer than I intended. "I want you too." And that's how it started. Our Thursdays became sacred. Sometimes she'd bring groceries, but other times she'd just show up with ingredients for our lessons. We'd take over the massive, sterile kitchen that my family barely used, and she'd fill it with life. She'd dance around while chopping vegetables, singing off-key to whatever was on the radio, and mercilessly tease me for being absolutely terrible at cracking eggs. It was fun. Genuinely, unbelievably fun. One night, after we'd managed to spectacularly burn a batch of pancakes, we both just collapsed onto the floor, laughing so hard we couldn't breathe. As our laughter died down, our hands brushed, and in an instant, everything went quiet. The air grew thick, charged with something I couldn't name. She looked at me, Asterisk looked at me, her brown eyes searching mine. "You're not what I expected, Emily Bennett," she whispered. "Neither are you," I managed to say, my heart hammering against my ribs. The silence stretched electric and full of unsaid things. Then she leaned forward and kissed me. It was quick, hesitant, and a little clumsy, but it was the most real thing I had ever felt in my entire life. She pulled away, her expression clouded with uncertainty. I shouldn't have done that. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Because, she said, looking away, girls like you don't fall for girls like me. A faint smile touched my lips. Maybe this one does. But of course, the world doesn't like it when you break its rules. My mother saw us one afternoon. Riley was in the kitchen, telling a story, her hand resting on my wrist as we laughed. My mother's face turned to ice. "Who is that?" she demanded later, her voice sharp. "A friend," I said, way too quickly. "Friends don't look at each other like that," she snapped. "You are a Bennett Emily. Do not throw your life away for some delivery girl." Her words were like poison, seeping into my thoughts. I started to see it too, the stark difference between our worlds. Her hands, calloused from hard work, next to my perfectly polished nails. Her beat-up scooter parked next to our fleet of imported luxury cars. The gap between us suddenly felt like a canyon. That night, when Riley came by, I couldn't even meet her eyes. She knew instantly. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice gentle. I just shook my head. "My mom saw us. She said we're impossible." Riley went quiet, her usual bright energy just gone. "Maybe she's right," she whispered, and the words shattered me. She left without another word, and for the first time, the echoing emptiness of the mansion was deafening. Days bled into weeks. I stopped ordering groceries. I stopped cooking. I stopped smiling. The color had drained from my world again. Then, one evening, I came home to find a small, familiar paper bag on the porch. Inside was a jar of homemade strawberry jamda. Kind she taught me how to make canned, a simple, handwritten note. It read, "For when you're ready to live for yourself, not for them." Or in that moment, I didn't think. I just ran. I ran down the long driveway, my feet pounding on the pavement, not even caring that a light rain had started to fall. I ran all the way into town to the small corner shop she worked at in the evenings. I found her just as she was closing up, her scooter helmet in her hand. She looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Emily!" I was out of breath, soaked, and probably looked a mess, but I didn't care. "You were wrong," I said, gasping for air. "Girls like me do fall for girls like you, because you're the first person who ever made me feel real." Her expression softened, the guarded look in her eyes melting away. "You sure you're ready for that kind of truth?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. I stepped closer, closing the final gap between us. "I am if it's with you." And then I kissed her. This time, there was no uncertainty, no hesitation. It was just certainty. It was just us. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. My family didn't magically approve overnight, and our worlds didn't seamlessly merge. There were hard conversations and difficult choices. But every time Riley looks at me across our cluttered little kitchen, with a dusting of flour on her cheek and that incredible, unwavering love in her eyes, I know I made the right choice. Because she didn't just deliver my groceries, she delivered me to the life I never even knew I was missing. Thanks for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd like this video and subscribe for more. See you next time.